Cool. We are recording. Hey, my name is Lauren Daly, and I'm the owner and founder of Aspire Rugby. We started a video series here about a month and a half ago. And today I am so grateful to have Rob joining me to hang out for about 10 to 15 minutes. Rob, I will let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me, Lauren. I'm Rob Irimescu. I play for Rugby United in New York. I play hooker. Yeah, I'm 24 years old. I graduated in 2019 from Penn State. That's where Lauren and I crossed paths. She was a great coach there, great help, good friend. And yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very gracious. Yeah. So 2 years ago now, you were a senior at Penn State, and I came on board to help out the men's team. And I mean, you were playing many positions, filling a
Yeah.
lot of roles at that time. And since then, you have just signed, well, not just, but recently signed your second year being in the MLR. And I'd love to know or have you share a little bit more about what that looks like, especially this year.
Yeah. So first year out of college, initially that summer, like after 7 season, I got invited to the All-American camp, ended up playing against Canada. And then when I was there, ended up meeting up with the RUNY GM. We talked for a little bit and basically like I let him know that, I'm from New York. Like RUNY's really the main / only place like I really want to go to. One thing led to another. I signed with RUNY. It went great the first season. I mean, it was short, but it went great. I got signed as a hooker, but as everyone knows, like in rugby, like a ton of injuries happen. So I ended up playing a little bit of flanker, which I obviously was really comfortable with. Yeah, first few games kind of was really on the roster only for like injury purposes, but I feel like towards the end of the season, I really got a chance to like prove myself and actually be like, hey, like I could play in the MLR. So yeah, it went well. I got really close to coaches, the players, all that. I was gracious enough to get re-signed this year, and now we've been doing like a remote preseason. We have a great strength and conditioning plan, which actually our SNC for RUNY is the old Penn State SNC, a bit before your time there. But it's funny how we cross paths like that with Ian Jones.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I know Ian.
yeah, he was with the Eagles for a little bit, the women's
Ian
Eagles. Yeah.
actually traveled with the US women's national team when I was playing when we were abroad, like in preparing for the World
Yeah.
Cup. That's really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. You know, really, he has the perfect balance of like getting on you, but at the same time, like he lets you know that like what we're doing is like really going to benefit you in the long run. Super talented. I mean, I forget if it was before or after the Eagles, but he did a little work with the Browns, with the Texans, and the NFL. He was an assistant SNC, which is very impressive stuff. So, when you see a resume like that, you're like, oh, like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to what this guy's saying. But he has us with some programs. It's like a 16-week preseason program. We're on week 13, the final block before preseason starts. For us, it's February 8th. The MLR preseason starts February 1st, but we're like doing like quarantine and whatnot. So yeah, that's been great. It's been, you're like running in the morning, working out, and then now like some days we're even doing like run, workout, run like after that. So it's been great. There's this tracker. It's this app called Actimate. We like fill in all our stuff. Like when we wake up, we do our wellness, similar to the Eagles, like I'm sure when you played. And yeah, he's tracking our numbers, writing it down. So that's really just what I've been working on lately.
Yeah. How is your responsibility for your fitness to prepare for the season changed this year because of COVID, if at all, compared with last year?
Yeah. So last year, so the American players, all of them for the most part play on academy side teams. So I played for the New York Athletic Club. So that season went from early September until like maybe the beginning of November or end of October, with RUNY preseason starting the first week of December, in person, obviously. And, there was really no off season time. It was like, you end one season, you have 3 weeks, like probably like 1 week to just recover and then back into it again. So there really was no time for me to like, get in shape. It's really just like how I left off. And I always find like after a season ends, I get like a little lazy for a couple of weeks. Like I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. Like, I want to just get back. So, a tiny bit of a rude awakening on that like first day. But, after that, as you can imagine, like MLR fitness is top shape. Now, there's more responsibility on us. Like we're filling out a tracker, which is great. But, at the same time, who knows? Like there's
Nobody's
people who could,
watching you.
yeah, like who knows? Like there's people that could be lying about the tracker, and you just you just need to realize that these workouts, like they're not like punishments, they're not assignments, they're not anything like that. Like if you do the workouts, you'll play well. And that's just really what comes down to it. And like if you're playing the MLR, you want to play at the highest level. You want to play your best, brand of rugby. So you're gonna do your workouts. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's you have to be a lot more independent, which was tough for me outside of college. Like, when someone's not telling me what to do, like I'm kind of like slacking, but you get the hang of it a little bit. My second year, I'm definitely getting the hang of it. I try to not miss any workouts unless there's like a super good reason or if it like really just doesn't make sense for me to work out that day. But yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to like give you huge kudos because you're also balancing a full-time job, which
Yeah.
we were chatting about prior to just before this. So, I mean, your days are packed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it gets tough sometimes, but at the end of the day, like when you have structure, when you have stuff constantly going on, like I feel like when you do get free time, you like use it a lot more wisely. You actually appreciate it a lot more. There's been like times in my life where I only had free time and I'd find myself like bored or not motivated or something. But now, like, I really get motivated and it could be tough, balancing the two, but at the end of the day, I want to like progress my career in both. Like personally, I view MLR much more seriously than my full time job. I would pick that if I could, but if I could do both, I'm gonna try my absolute best to do both for as long as I can. So yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned, staying motivated, like specifically this year in your preparations. I mean, it's been my experience talking to athletes that this has been obviously a really particularly difficult year to stay motivated. Do you have
Yeah.
like, what kind of self dialogue do you have on like a day where you're like, wow, I don't feel like doing shit? Like, do you have a
Yeah.
mantra? Do you have a quote? Like, what do you lean on for those like low moments?
Yeah. I mean, basically my low times came, you know, like a few months ago. So like when we're working, sorry, when the whole lockdown thing happened, it was like, oh, let's go. Like I could finally pay attention to my workouts. I can actually start putting up some serious weight now. Like this is awesome. Um, but then a few months into it, as we started realizing like, oh, okay, like this is not going anywhere. It was kind of like, you know, like what am I working out for right now? Like I'm obviously gonna try and stay in shape, but like to push yourself like to that next level, like why? Like why am I gonna make myself suffer, when I'm conditioning or when I'm lifting, absolutely push myself to that crazy level. So like those are some tough times because there's really no purpose. You're kind of just working out to work out. Like you're not even working out to look good after summer's over. You're literally just working out to work out. But as like the season, comes closer, the thing that just motivates me is always like, everyone on the MLR roster is going to be like absolutely killing themselves, like in the gym, on the field, all that. If you're not putting in that work, if not even more work, like you're not going to be able to keep up. And my ultimate end goal is to just play well. Um, if I don't put in the hard hours, put the sweat in, like it's just not going to happen. So that's my motivation now. A few months ago, it's a bit tough because what's the purpose? But now it's like I know I'm dead set. I'm dead locked in. I know what I want. I'm gonna go try my best to go get it. And if I don't work out, to watch Netflix or to eat some junk food or something, it's just not worth it. It's like why would you do that? So go work out, get it over with, and then you can enjoy yourself after.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny that you were talking about just the high caliber like athletes that are on the team. I remember, and that being like a motivator. I remember training just like going into different camps, not knowing who would be there, or an all-American team, and just being like, I will not be the worst one. So, I mean, I didn't know who
Yeah.
was going to be there. I didn't know how good they were. I didn't know how big they were. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny you say that, like, pull your weight or like bring it because this is the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, hard work is like the least you can do ultimately, right? Like people are going to show up and just be talented, but if you work hard, you'll make progress. It'll pay off one day. It might not be right away. Like everything's a journey. But yeah, the least you could do is work hard, and then obviously when you're on the field, the least you can do is not only work hard but also communicate. So
Yeah,
it's like these are just two things that require no skill or talent or anything at all. They just require mindset. So
totally. I love that. I love that. Also, I'm curious, and I didn't prep you for this, but I'm wondering, is there a particular culture on the team? Like, is there something that you guys say or that like a hashtag or anything like that? Because I feel like there's a certain like very I don't know, high energy culture about your
yeah.
team. Anything that you want to say about that?
Yeah, so this wasn't around last year. Like obviously, in the short term, like we always come up with a bunch of things. Like last year, each of us had like sayings and all this stuff. But what I kind of like about this year and like our social media team like came up with this, but I think it's gonna last. I think we're gonna keep it, is it's like, you know, we're like New York tough. Like it's like you look at like the history of like New York and it was like it's not necessarily like that anymore, but like back in the days, like it was like really hardcore, like people like, you have to commute, you have to like really work for like what you want in life. Like it's really not easy to come. And I kind of think that's really cool for us. And like we totally buy into that too, because like, New York City, you don't just have like acres of grass and field and places where you could put goalposts or stadiums or anything like that. And you look at some of these other areas, they have a huge amount of land and we have to commute for a bunch of stuff and things like that. So, you know, we like to, well, I like that saying a lot. It's like, oh yeah, you're like New York tough. So I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that going. We'll see if the rest of the team likes it too.
Yeah, I do sort of know a little bit about that, or just the women who play in New York, and like they're taking trains to get to practice and training, and they're like, just it's a whole effort. And so, I mean, that's just dedication, and I love that.
Yeah. It's like, we got to like work just to like
Just
get
to
to
show up.
practice and then
Yeah.
just to get back and then just to go to the weight room and then like just to get a bite to eat or something. It's like it's a little tough. And it has nothing to do like with RUNY or anything like that. It's just like New York City, you're not going to put a giant field in the middle of Manhattan unless, yeah, unless you're like the New York Giants or something, but that's
Yeah,
really it.
I appreciate that, Rob.
Yeah.
Um, you and I have talked about this before, but what's one piece of advice you would give to an athlete who has a goal to play for a team in the MLR? How could they like set themselves up to be seen or to be on track, or what action, like what's one action step that they could take to put themselves in a good position to try to play?
Yeah, there's a few things, and like it's super vague. Like you're gonna hear the same things all around, and that's, there's one that's specific. I have, like, I'll say that towards the end, but it's really just like hard work at first. Like you're not gonna get there. Like if you're not already there, like you need to work hard to get there. And what you find a lot of the times, especially in rugby, right, is like consistency. Like someone who consistently works hard, someone who consistently, really focuses on learning, because there's a ton of off the field stuff too with MLR rugby. We're running crazy patterns, like defense is like completely different. Like we have a whole bunch of different schemes and this and that. So really being a student in the game, working hard, and just like being consistent with that will ultimately get you further than the talented player who like doesn't work hard. And the player who is injury prone or something like that, like you'll get your chance eventually. You just have to stick with it, never give up. Like I mentioned before, to like communication on the field takes absolutely zero skill. Just talk the whole time. The best players I play with, I know where they're at all times on the field. There's really no good players that are silent, to be honest. um, and then the last thing, when I was at Xavier, I got invited to like the high school American camp when I was in high school, and Mike Petrie was like one of like the assistant coaches there, And I was like, dude, like, you're super experienced. Like, you're totally going to have a good answer for me. Like, what do I do to like prepare for this? Like, how do I potentially get selected?
This was in high
And he,
school.
yeah, in high school for like the high school Americans. And he's like, you need to figure out like what's one thing that you're really good at and just really specialize, really like focus and master like the one thing you're good at. Because he's like, every player I've ever met on every team I've been on, each one of them, you can look at them and you'll be like, oh, he's really good at this. Like he's really good at this.
Totally.
And it's the same thing. Like the players I played with, like I can tell you right away like what they're good at, like whatever, like chicken, sidestep, jack, defense, lineouts, like right away, like exactly what someone is like good at. So really just specialize on that one thing. It could take you places. Mix that with some hard work and communication, and you'll be good.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's almost like what I'm hearing is double down on like your strength, like, and make it like something that the team can't live without. I mean,
Yeah, 100%. Like if you're really good at when a runner's like, I'm not saying be good at this, but I'm saying if you're really good at whenever there's a runner and you like strip the ball out of their hands, like make sure you do that every single time or something like that. Like one thing I did really well this past season is I blocked like 5 kicks or something like in practice. And, like it was like the first time I've ever done that, but I was like, okay, like I'm blocking kicks a lot. Now I'm gonna chase them extra hard every time, and I blocked like one in a game. And I was like, oh my God, like this is awesome. Like I'm actually using the one thing I specialized in. So, just really, really focus on that. And yeah, you'll stand out to people.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you so much, Rob. Actually, I have two quick, like casual
Yeah.
questions, non-rugby related before we wrap up. Um, First of all, what is your go-to breakfast?
I said this, so I was on the rugby rant like a few weeks ago, and they asked me the same thing. They're like, if you could choose one place in New York City, like what would you choose? And I'm like, cool, I can go and Google something and I can come back to you with a 5-star restaurant, or I can tell you like all these crazy places. But I'm a big like corner deli guy. Like I like going to a nice New York City, like New York City base. Like they've been there for years and years, just corner deli. And I like getting a bacon, egg, and cheese with some salt, pepper, ketchup. You say it in one word. It's like bacon, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup. You say it like that with an Arizona iced tea. And like
For
that's my
breakfast?
go-to. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Get it on a nice bagel or a roll or something. New York bagels are the best. That's my absolute favorite right there.
God, now we know it works.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, the Arizona iced tea is 99 cents still in 2021. So go figure.
Well, last question for you. I just asked you what your go-to breakfast was. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh my God, karaoke. Um, I don't know. It's tough because I feel like all my friends, like when it comes to karaoke, they have like a go-to like rock song or like classic, something song.
I'm scared.
Um, I grew up my whole life like listening to rap. So it's a little tough. Like I'd probably choose like a Notorious B.I.G. song, probably Juicy, which is like his #1 song of all time. But if I didn't choose a rap song, I'd probably choose like a disco song, like some Bee Gees, like More Than a Woman or Staying Alive or something like that. I think that would be a hit too. But
Yeah, that
it
would be a
depends on the
crowd
crowd.
pleaser.
Yeah, there you go. So that's my answer right there, one or the other. I do like disco. Disco is great. Great music.
God, Rob, it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's been a
Well,
pleasure talking to you too.
yeah, I appreciate it. I'm excited to share some of your experiences with people, and it's just really fun to catch up. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great. Anytime. And yeah, I'd love to chat. We can keep in touch. If anyone has any questions, more than happy to answer them. And yeah, I'll
Cool.
talk to you later.